Okay, so we are here again with the young man, Natty, Prodigy, bringing some new information. And today we're going to be talking about cultivating the wise mind, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were saying earlier on, I really like that title. For you, what does that title kind of symbolize, and what we're going to be sharing today?
Well, cultivating the wise mind. The word cultivation just came to me because it was like, I was thinking, what is the process that one would have to go through to gain the information? And I just thought about myself on all the things that you taught me over the years. It had to be cultivated. It was like an agricultural process. I had to plant the
Wow.
seed,
Okay.
I had to water the seed to blossom into those principles showing through me. So that's why I was like, cultivating the wise mind is a perfect example or perfect word
Okay.
to
And it
put.
really, I think, would you say that it is about the synthesis between visioning and logical application?
Yes,
And
yes,
that is really what I want to kind of focus on, just to make sure that the people that are tuning in really understand this. Because what I have found over the last 40 years that I've had my spiritual mentor is that there is a different way of thinking that is not taught to us in school, college, or university about the mind. So it's not even so much about the thinking process, but it's about how we utilize our mind. So it's just in the same way that we have two arms, left and right. If I was to walk around and all I was doing was only using my right arm, you'd be looking at me kind of funny, because you'd be like, why don't you just use your other arm? Yeah.
yeah.
And it's kind of like how we've been taught to think, that we don't use both what I refer to as the left brain and the right brain, or some refer to it as the masculine mind and the feminine mind. The way that we're taught in the West is our focus is on the left brain, the masculine energy, which is all about logic, it's all about linear thinking, it's all about a direct approach to thinking. I'm not saying it's bad, but when we learn how to cultivate the wise mind involves that, but it also involves something that happens first. And that's really where the whole visioning aspect comes into play, because we don't even realize it, but we all do it by default. And the work and the training that I've had to do over the years where you're concerned is to make you become aware of that which you do automatically anyway. But because you do it automatically and you're not conscious of it, well then by spiritual law you can't maximize on it. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. Everybody wants to maximize on how they use our brain, our body, and that's really what it's about.
So what are some of the what are some of the principles or points what you would say are within the wise mind?
So the wise mind is a mind that understands that there are these two hemispheres, the left and the right. And the wise mind understands that each has its own unique functions and ways of operating. It's like an operating system
Yeah.
in many respects. And you need to know, well, you don't need to, but the wise mind knows how they operate individually in terms of function, but also how it is very powerful when the two are brought together. So case in point, I teach people that, as you know, at the beginning of the year, most people talk about setting new goals and new resolutions. And, I did a video saying that's the last thing you should be doing. And people are like, what do you mean? I've always been told you should set goals. Well, that's the demonstration of the point I'm making. Being goal orientated is just left brain activity. It doesn't start there. And that's why I'm saying it's like, you know, we've only been told half the story. Yeah. Well, if you've only got half the story, you're never going to be able to really enjoy the whole thing. The
Yeah.
whole thing is to understand what is your vision, first of all. What is it you want to achieve this year? Do you want to make, you know, lots more money? Do you want to go on, you know, a 3-month safari? You know, what is the vision? And we want to and need to spend enough time with the vision in terms of what we want. And it's not just for one area, but for every important area of your life. But that's a whole another topic. But the principle is the same. It's about thinking, visualizing what you really want.
Okay.
And when I say visualizing, I'm not just talking about having a picture. I'm talking about giving life to that vision. What does giving life to the vision mean? When we give life to something, we add qualities of the senses. So, you know, when you vision going on holiday with your favorite person and being on the beach, you know, like, see, it's happening already. You're smiling. That's exactly my point. That's the power of visioning. When we are able to bring the senses into our vision, it literally moves from the spiritual or mental realm into the physical. What was the proof? You had the thought, and immediately your physiology began to change. You started smiling. That's what we're supposed to do. So when we now have that going on, where we're visioning and we can, you know, if it's that holiday, you can almost, you know, feel the wind on your hair and on your skin. So all of your senses, you can almost see the water and taste all of those senses. The more senses we can bring into the vision, the more concrete and permanent it becomes, because, you know, the mind doesn't know the difference between what our eyes see and what we perceive. And that's the bit that we really wanted to help people to understand, that when you've done that, now when you're crystal clear, or as clear as you can be, now you engage in a full partnership, meaning right brain is taking care of the creativity, got the picture, and now it's like a tag team. Left brain is like, okay, throw the ball to me so I can get busy making it happen in terms of, okay, what needs to be done? What strategic moves do I need to make? You know, I need to book a hotel. I need to look and check out flights. I need to do this. I need to do that. What are the operations that need to be engaged in to make this happen? And so in that space in between, that's the wise mind.
So, okay. So you gave that example towards a holiday or on or something of that nature. Can I apply that to business?
Absolutely. Because, for example, well, classic case, and this is how I've always done my business. All of my businesses have been created not because I set out with the intention of starting a business. All of my businesses have been created because I had a vision, a very strong, clear vision. And so once I'd got a really strong, clear vision, case in point, my not-for-profit organization, I had no money when I actually set up the not-for-profit organization, but I had a very clear intent of what I needed to do. And someone said to me, well, you know, you've exhausted your funds doing what you're doing. It's successful, but cash flow was an issue. They're like, okay, well, why don't you do X, Y, and Z? The X, Y, and Z is now the left brain process. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're making a suggestion. Why don't you set up as a not-for-profit organization, then start making applications to show people and organizations and statute government, you know, bodies what you're doing and see if they would fund you. Did that. That's the wise mind, very clear vision. And now it's what practical steps do I need to take? And having the drive, because you see, when you've got a really clear vision, it gives you drive. You're motivated to take action, as opposed to someone who's just thinking about stuff and they're just dreaming, but they don't get up and go because they're not motivated. There's not a vision. So we get up, we do what needs to be done. And as you know, as the story goes, within 6 months, we receive a check of £75,000 and then go on to raise almost £2 million. But I didn't set out to go and raise £2 million. You see my point?
Yeah.
It was the vision. That's where the power is. And I believe, it's my take, that I reckon that's why it hasn't been shared with us in the educational system, certainly in the West, where I've been raised all my life. It's not there. Why? Because if you were to understand this and apply this, you'd be unstoppable. That's worth thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so, you've seen, in terms of what I've done, and I'm not saying that, I've done anything that is anything special, but given the circumstances and the challenges that I had at the same time, it's an interesting feat that's been accomplished, from being homeless with no resources to being able to create something that has a massive impact on very many people's lives. And all I claim, based on the harmony that existed in my mind, because that's what the wise mind is all about, harmony. That
Harmony
coexistence between left brain and right brain.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing is, we don't realize that, excuse me, this is spiritual stuff. Because if you don't have harmony in your mind, well, the opposite to peace and harmony is a war zone. So if you, in your mind, you're experiencing a war zone, well, wherever you go, you're bringing war. So how are you going to be able to be in a loving, stable, settled relationship with some other person if you are a war zone? You're going to have to create a truce. Yeah. You're going to have peace where it's, you put the flag up and you have to, first of all, create a truce in your mind. And then you can have, a wholesome relationship. So I'm saying that to say that this thing is so deep, it affects our business, it affects our relationships with other people, it actually affects our relationship with ourselves. Some people, they go to bed at night and they can't sleep. Insomnia. Part of that insomnia is because you got a war zone going on. You can lay down to sleep, but your mind will not settle because you've got opposing thoughts. So it affects everything. The wise mind experiences peace personally and in relationships. They also experience joy and happiness. They also experience abundance because it's a partnership. And in all of nature, you'll look and see that nothing exists by itself. There's a partnership of sorts, a relationship. Everything has a dependency on something else. Nothing exists by itself. So why the hell are you trying to work your mind with just one, whether it be right brain or just left brain? It's unnatural and it's never gonna work. You can try, but you're fighting a losing battle, and then you get frustrated. And that's why so many men at the age of 50 just commit suicide, literally, because they've tried it. Left brain has tried to do it every single way it thinks possible, but not looking at it from a holistic point of view.
Oh, that was deep. That was deep.
Yeah,
But yeah, a pretty important lesson of cultivating the wise mind.
yeah. And it's going to be difficult for people in some respects, but I think COVID has kind of shown us that there's another way of living. I mean, before COVID, everybody thought how we were doing things was perfectly fine. And then COVID's come along and it's showing us that, like, everybody's been asking themselves questions about how they're living. So I believe that this wise mind culture is going to be the way that the people who know what time it is and who get ahead are going to be people who are thinking in this way, in a holistic way. And you know what? The truth of the matter is, if you look in society, you'll see it. Meaning, I'll give you an example. Those institutions that have existed, doesn't matter how long they've been running, that old way of being, where it's just left brain, very structured, not fluid, regulated, and straight up and down, and just so rigid, they aren't going to work anymore. And look what's just happened to the police force here in the UK. The top person has been taken out. They've got to find a new way that is going to allow for a different culture within the police force. Now, I'm not trying to go political. I'm not doing that, but I'm just using it as an example to illustrate an old way of doing things is not working.
100% agree.
Cool. All right,
Very insightful.
so let's work and find the wise way.
The combining of the left and right brain and bringing those two wills in yourself together to actualize your visions and goals.
At all times. Cool. That was great. I loved it.
Right.
Till next time, huh?
Yep. Thanks a lot.
All right. Enough love.
All right. Bye.